The opioid epidemic is experiencing a fourth wave. Meanwhile, many cities saw homicide rates drop in 2024. Craft breweries need to adjust to a shift in the industry. Lastly, the mushroom capital is under attack. I'm Claudia Dimuro, and you're listening to Today in PA. The first wave of the opioid epidemic started in the early 2000s with the widespread abuse of prescription painkillers, reports Philly Voice. The second wave involved an increase in heroin use. The third is when fentanyl started to appear. Now the epidemic is experiencing a fourth wave where there are more and more instances of stimulants such as cocaine and meth being mixed with fentanyl. And this poses a very grave problem in that mixing the stimulants in with fentanyl mars efforts to reduce overdoses. In fact, says UCLA researcher Joseph Friedman, quote, "The number one thing that people in the U.S. are dying from in terms of drug overdoses is the combination of fentanyl and a stimulant. It's unclear, however, how many people are using these stimulant-fentanyl combinations intentionally or accidentally." Homicide rates dropped in Pittsburgh in 2024, reports the Tribune Review. Ditto for areas like York County, according to the York Daily Record. The Steel City in particular saw the number of homicides investigated go down by 19% between 2023 and 2024, with both homicide and non-fatal shooting rates actually decreasing to pre-pandemic levels. There were, though, upticks in homicides in other areas such as Allegheny and Westmoreland counties. On the whole, experts are noticing a dip in violent crime nationwide, although the Council on Criminal Justice still has to release the official numbers crunch on that. As previously covered here, last year was the first time in nearly 2 decades that the craft brewing industry saw more closings than openings, states the Tribune Review. According to industry blog Breweries in PA, roughly 20 craft breweries shuttered their doors statewide. As for why, some experts think that it was a matter of oversaturation. Too many craft breweries popped up in a small market. Others are pointing to a rise in operating costs. Whatever the reason may be, those still in the craft brewing biz are trying to test out new ways to adjust to this shift. Some are diversifying their offerings to customers, hiring musicians and trivia companies to draw in crowds regularly. Others are switching up their distribution methods. Instead of distributing to bars and restaurants, for example, which come with some tight margins, some breweries are instead working with wholesalers, which provide opportunities for more exposure, said John Biernoski. Great name for the beer industry. Co-owner and head brewer for Illusion Brewing and Vandergriff, quote, "You have to look ahead and be ready for any change that comes." Kennett Square is the United States' mushroom capital, begins PennLive. In fact, it calls itself the mushroom capital of the world. And it, like other areas of Chester County, is being besieged by phorid flies. According to the Philadelphia Inquirer, people around the county have observed a noticeable uptick in the fly population, with one Avondale resident claiming, quote, "There's flies in the exhaust vents, there's flies attached to the light fixtures. I'm in the shower, I lift up the shampoo bottle, and they're hiding underneath." Ew. Kennett Borough offices are getting flooded with complaints about the species, which tends to hang around mushrooms and poses a threat to the $1.1 billion industry. Researchers have already been granted some state money to alleviate this issue, but for now, if you're in Chester County, check under your shampoo bottles. That wraps up today's episode. For even more news, visit PennLive.com, and please remember to rate this podcast and to email me at todayinpa@PennLive.com with any thoughts you may have. Thanks ahead of time, and of course, thanks for listening. I'm Claudia Dimuro, and we'll get back together tomorrow with some more Today in PA.